And hi there from Martin and Nick. And today we're going to talk about number 9, Clifton Street in Bolton. It's a slightly unusual property for us. We haven't done what I call an economy property for a while, i.e. the asking price is only £120,000. But that's because we haven't really assessed that many properties in Bolton recently. So let's have a look, see what we see, and draw some conclusions, do some scores, and you tell us what you think. Now, with that in mind, let's get into it. So I'm going to share a screen, and here we go. All right, the first thing is I'm going to go through the sales particulars, then I'm going to go through the Viewer stuff, then I'm going to do the 3D walkthrough. The reason is that the 3D walkthrough on this is killing my computer. Even though I've got 16 gigs of RAM, I've got a fancy schmancy machine, but it's just doing it in, so I don't want to seize everything up, as it were. I've also closed a bunch of tabs and other things, so hopefully we'll be okay. Nice backyard, artificial grass. This is obviously done fairly recently. It feels to me like this property has had probably 3 phases of renovations in its life. It looks to me like a 1900s property. And the reason I say that, I'll go back to the...
they said that it's between 1930s, 1950s.
Really?
But, yep.
Maybe it is. Would you be able to look at a property either side and just see if it says the same thing?
Yeah, I will see.
I'm surprised. I doubt it. But, you know, maybe it might be who knows? It might be early 30s, which could make sense.
But sometimes they write this, but it will be like, yeah, early 30s.
Okay, I think I'll go with that. I think it'll be earlier 30s than 50s, and the reason was the styles were very different, and you just didn't have that much of this kind of terraced house being built in the 50s. But there's a few things to note here. It's got air bricks down here. That's great. So it's got decent ventilation. I expect it's got good damp proofing. Brick quality is lovely. It's nice smooth brick, and water pours, you know, comes off it. It's not porous. It's very nice. And the interior, nicely done. The wide angle makes the stairs look huge, but it's not. It's got 1970s stairs, and so what this tells me is that the original plaster and lath has probably been ripped out. I'm pretty confident about that, actually. And that was probably done in the 70s when plasterboard was around. And I've noticed a lot of houses like this were done in that sort of time period. And I think it was either make or break for a lot of these terraced houses, because a lot of them were demolished, but the survivors obviously were given attention and given deep renovations. Now, the other thing is plaster and lath. It's just not pleasant stuff. I won't go into that too much because we don't really need to, but
yeah,
it's plaster.
I analyzed other properties. Yes, it's between 90s and 1930s. And I guess they make mistake for this one. So, yeah.
Okay, so it's 1920. It's probably in like 1920s, I would say.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it's EPCC.
Wow. Okay. Well, all right. So the other things of note are these balustrades, and this is a very 1970s thing, very 1970s look. And today, these would not pass building regulations, but the way it works with building regs is that if something is built and doesn't meet modern regulations, you don't have to change it. If you're going to redo the stairs, then you have to meet modern building regulations, which is no gap greater than 100 millimeters in diameter, because you can stick a baby's head through that. And imagine baby playing here, baby sticks head through here, baby falls, bad outcome for baby. So that's why we have a lot of these regulations just for safety and so on. Very fancy fireplace, got to say. More fitting of a Tudor mansion, but cool. And consistent with the theme that it's had a deep modernization in its life.
Yeah, and I think when I was giving a quote for renovation, I said that it will be around 2000. So maybe I'm right.
So far, I think you're in the right kind of money, actually, because this is an economy property. There's It's all about doing as little as you can to it.
Yeah, you don't need to do it so fancy, and it's already fancy for this price. So
yeah,
I think it just needs cleaning, maybe some painting, maybe just some little decoration. But
it's a nice property, nice kitchen, very nicely done overall, actually. And even though it's a wide angle, etc., that's still a decent sized kitchen.
Yeah, and 72 meters square, 76 meters square for 2-bedroom terrace house is nice size.
Yeah, carpets aren't great, but
yeah, so that's why I was thinking
that's okay. They're not even worth changing, I don't think. Bathroom, very 70s or early 80s, which is consistent with the history of the property. So it's had a more recent renovation, which would be the landscaping and a few other bits, and be the kitchen maybe, and so on. And then you've got some leftovers from the massive renovation it would have had. These panels, not good looking, but you know, they work, and that's okay. Quite nicely decorated. The lines are nice and crisp. Whenever I see that, I either think that's a DIYer who knows, do-it-yourself person who knows what they're doing, or it's been professionally done. The other point is nice modern fitted bathroom or bedroom thing. So that fits with the idea that it's had phases of renovation, and this one is pretty recent, I would have thought. So they've obviously put money into the property. The sad thing about that is when you put money into a property like this in this kind of area, you don't get a 1+ return. In other words, what you should do is you put £1 in and you get £1.20 back in terms of value uplift. This, you put £1 in, you might get £1 back, if that makes sense. But still, it's a nice property. All right, let's have a look at the floor plans. Very straightforward. Fine, there's not much to say here, really. So now I want to get into the Vuber stuff. Let's see what we see. And again, just reiterating, very good bricks. It looks like it was properly built. You got air bricks down there, so I suspect there was a proper damp-proof course in the property. I can't be sure, but it just looks like it should be properly done. And that all looks nice. So let's have a look at this. That is either, I don't know what that floor is, whether it's solid or not. But it's unusual. Nice. Sorry, I'm just kind of looking closely. I think it's very nice laminate flooring if it is. I think it is laminate. It is laminate, but it's in good condition. If it's not laminate, it's very wide floorboards and it's solid wood, but I doubt it because that's a lot of money.
Ceiling.
Okay, ceiling is probably plaster. Well, I don't know. It's quite messy. It's textured. It could be plaster and lath, but
they will not touch it.
Exactly. It's this kind of level of house. It doesn't need doing. It's fine. If it's not falling down, you know, you're okay. This back room, I think, has been done. That's a very nice flat ceiling.
Yep.
Okay, so they probably...
Yeah, when they did the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because the kitchen looks like, at least it's, the doors are changed, looks like more... It looks like also, yeah, old, but newer, stylish. So.
That's an interesting work surface. I don't know if it's granite. It might actually be granite. My goodness, if it is, that's amazing. I suspect it might be, you know. Sorry, just got to dwell on this for a minute. That's an induction hob. That's modern, so that's less than 10 years old, I would say. That's a it's obviously a painted kitchen. I don't know whether that's the style, but you can see some of the paint rubbing off on one of the doors.
But it's okay.
I think that's a solid. It's either solid.
I think it's solid. Old kitchen. Yeah, I think it's old. Let me try to find the last fail. Maybe we will have some photos.
It's a bit worn in the corners, but actually it's just fine. It's quite a nice kitchen. I like that kitchen overall. And here we are here. Now, this is also quite interesting. Look at that wall in the back. It looks like it's been plastered, but not painted. That's interesting. So the fundamentals of this property are really quite good.
Yep, correct.
Carpet looks reasonable. This is more or less a just buy and rent job. It needs very little work.
Yeah, as far as I can see, in 2018 was purchased, and the kitchen is the same. They just painted it. I will show you the photos, and we can compare.
It's quite a handsome kitchen anyway, and yeah, it was a brown wood, dark wood kitchen. Yeah, and they just painted it. They did a reasonable job as well.
And they just changed a little bit. They improved the bathroom basically. You
can see the strip. Just to say, you see there's a line there. It's hard to see, but there's a line there, and that's your plasterboard strip. That's good. It's all in the details, and so whenever we do these assessments for these kind of properties, what we're looking at is correlating lots of different bits of information together to draw an overall conclusion, which will hopefully guide you.
I will speak about after you.
Okay, that's all good. Now, the other question is the roof and the brickwork and that
the
brickwork.
If it's because the EPCC, I want to add that the roof is really nice.
Okay. So what we don't know is whether it's a new roof and therefore has underfelt and what the bricks are like. Did you see any have you got any street view or anything like that to show us that you do?
Yeah, but I'm not sure for I will find for the roof. I can show you.
Okay. And
can I share my screen?
Yeah, let's go.
So here is the roof. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 3, 5, 6. No, 5, 7, 9. So the roof is here for this property.
Okay, let's zoom right in there and have a good close look.
This is number, let me see the photo. Okay. It's this one. But this is 2014, and I want to say that this.
It's a very solid roof. I suspect it doesn't have underfelt because it was built too early, but you can see it's a well-built property, like it's a kind of premium design because it's got the fancy brickwork.
It has insulation, which is that's why it's C. So the roof should be good, fine, because the last purchase is 2017. So this is the last purchase, 2018. Sorry. Please hold. Basically, you can see the bathroom. What they did, they put new flooring. I analyzed this. They did new flooring. They changed the bath, and they put this glass to look more fancy. As you can see, they didn't change a lot. For example, this is one of. You can see the kitchen is.
Oh, they've painted they've redone all the fitted. Yeah, and they modernized it, and it's nicely done actually.
Yeah, and you can see that they removed the wallpaper and they painted, but they didn't touch the ceiling.
Yeah, because the ceiling is a disaster if you touch it.
Yeah, and also the papers they've
done a very nice job of decorating this property.
Yep, that's why they're asking now more. I think this.
Well, they kind of deserve it actually. They've done a really nice job.
Yeah, when you do comparables, you can see that they did really nice.
Yeah, they've done it.
Yeah. So the roof looks okay. Everything looks okay. So
yeah, that roof will last a very long time. There's another thing about roofs, by the way. If you have a terrace and you have like patchwork of different roofs along the terrace, usually it tells you the slate quality wasn't good. But look at that, they're all the same roofs. The slates are all the same across everything. So they're really thick, solid slates. And this house was built well because it's got the fancy extra. It's got the fancy brickwork at the front. It's got the stone lintels. It's just a very well-built, solid house, actually. All right, should we do the capital growth and all of that beautiful stuff? You know, it's all in the growth. Well, it's not all in the growth, but a lot of it is. So let's just see where we are. And we're in Bolton, sunny Bolton. The thing with Bolton is that it promises some interesting growth for the future, but it does have its issues, and they are related to cultural exclusivity, to use a phrase, which is fine. If, you know, there are certain areas in Bolton, well, I'll make this bigger so you can see it. Go full screen. Yeah, so broadly speaking, in Bolton, the further north you go, the more culturally exclusive it becomes. So in other words, what happens is that people here don't really like outsiders. Outsiders don't really like being there either. And very sadly, you get this kind of cultural separation, which is just really not good. But it happens, and one has to at least acknowledge that, because our mission, as ever, is to tell the truth about properties. So the story here is there's quite a lot of social rented, but not too much. I'm not sure which of those properties would be. I suppose it's these estates nearby. And or maybe these, but you can talk us through that, because you can show us a floor plan.
Yep.
But just on the, or not,
it's on the left. You're hiding the property.
Sorry. So the local authority stuff's here.
No, opposite of the yellow pin, the terrace block of terrace.
I'm sorry, I'm just kind of looking in the wrong spot, aren't I? No. We're here, and then here's the local authority stuff. But what a nice area! Look at all that lovely parkland, playing fields, cricket fields. It's so nice. Okay, so from a demographics point of view, it's really quite good around here. Lots of new build, and around here, which is more representative of this little patch, I would say it's a kind of lower middle class area.
Yep,
which is entirely consistent with the property prices, the overall character of the area. Crime is low, very low. And this also correlates with this idea that you can have a lot of areas which have a lot of poverty, but very low crime. And this is one such area. It is a low crime area, and therefore would be very pleasant to live in, assuming location is good.
Yeah, and I want to add, like, this like the little lakes, what you can see, this is like the borderline where it's, if you go
as long as you're south of that demarcation point, you're good. And it's a very odd thing where you get kind of cultural boundaries around physical boundaries, and there's your physical boundary. It's funny, isn't it? It could be a railway line or motorway or whatever, but in this case it's a lake.
Yeah, but you can see the level of English speaking in those locations.
Yeah, exactly. So where it's very light colored, it's low English speaking, and then where it's darker colored, it's typically more English speaking. All of these circles all mean something. We have them here, wherever they are. They all mean different things, and from there we're able to get an intuitive feel of it without even having to think about it. Anyway, capital growth is very good, very good. And there is some churn, but not a massive amount of housing sales in this area, but it's solid. The main thing that's really interesting for me is the huge growth from 2003 to 2008, 100%, over 100% inflation adjusted, and then the relatively modest decline. So this was an absolute win in the previous property cycle. What do I mean by that? Well, let's just have a quick look. 1845, now each arrow, peak in the market, property cycle, roughly 18 years a cycle. We're now in the boom phase. We're about here, about 20%, 25% in on the boom phase. And this is where the insanity begins. In each boom cycle, what one should look for is not so much house prices, but affordability. And this shows you how property became relatively unaffordable in 89, and then we had the crash, but interest rates were much higher back then, like 6-7%, something like that. And then 2008 they were 5%, and now they're 0.75%. And what we will probably see is prices creeping up like that, affordability reducing, but interest rates remaining comparatively low. And without boring you, it's due to long-term economic cycles. Essentially, we're very similar to the 1940s, high government debt, high inflation, all sorts of problems with the economy, and therefore governments can't jack up interest rates too much, otherwise they will just kill the economy. All right, now the next thing I do want to do very quickly is, because I forgot, let's see if this works. If it totally nukes everything, I'll turn it off. But this is the 3D walkthrough. I don't really want to spend too much time on it, but just to say that's plaster and lath, I think, or it's partially done, because this front area looks really good, and then you go back here and it's a bit of a mess. It is possible that the room was remodeled somehow. Doesn't really matter. Okay, let's get back to capital growth now that I'll turn that on off. All right, it's really strong, but it's patchy. So the story here is that one has to be careful about which area one buys in, essentially. So if you're buying around here, that's probably a bad idea, because it's very culturally exclusive, and sadly the people in this exclusive area, by the way, exclusive doesn't have to be rich, it can be poor, and in this case it's an impoverished exclusive area, and therefore capital growth is really quite bad, relatively speaking. So as long as you're somewhere on the south side of Bolton going towards Manchester and accessibility to Manchester is good, then there is an immense amount of value here. Low crime, lovely little patch. It makes sense to live in a place like this. So for growth, I definitely see this growing a lot. And how much? Well, overall, BL4 is one of the top performing areas in the whole country. There's only 7% of areas that are doing better than it. And I would say property like this, let's say it goes for 125. I don't know. I need to talk to the agent and just kind of gauge the situation.
The rent will be around 600.
Yeah, that's a very good yield, and therefore you're likely to see a property like this creep up to the £170,000 mark, I would say, just because it is a very fundamentally good property. That is over the next 4 years. Okay, Martin, over to you.
I will speak first about the location. Yes, as we said, like after this, I will not go and buy property there. This,
yeah, you got to stay south of those lakes. You've got to stay south of the border.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and this is like a really close to hospital, so a lot of people.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Yeah,
you can see that would just make such a good renter, wouldn't it? Nice house nearby,
and
just
it's
walk
really
to work.
Close to the train stop, which go directly to Manchester, which is really nice, or Bolton, depends where you want to go. It has markets, it has schools around, it has everything what you need. Yeah, it has a lot of green space, so which is really nice. Yeah, the build is between 96 meters square for 2-bedroom terrace house, so also nice. The risk with the coal mining, you can see here this, and the property is there. So basically, the coal mining risk are all over this terrace house. Right, so it's not far away from this property, so you don't need to be worried about that. So yep, when you go to the, I want to show you when you go to the, it's medium risk for this. So I want to show, you can see it have little low, medium risk. You can see the dark color for medium is just
it's
somewhere.
Just street flooding, isn't it? It's nothing serious.
It's nothing serious, so I will not be worried about that. And anyway, the insurance will cover that. So yep, when you go to the comparables, it will be around 600, even more the rent, but let's say it's 600. I don't want to promise you more, but I think until the purchase is done and so on, it will be 650, 625.
It's such a nicely done little house. It's great.
When you go to comparables, like 125, 130, 125, 125. This is not comparable, like 125, 125. So I think this property, if you bought it for 125, 127, it will be really nice because the yield will be around. So let's say like the minimum yield is 600 by 12, and you take it for 127. Let's say it will 5.7, which is okay. It's good.
the thing is, it needs no work, and it's going to very likely see huge capital growth. It's just a very nice little property. The only issue is that if you're buying with a mortgage, the minimum mortgage will be £100,000. Their Gatehouse are doing a lower mortgage now, which is good, but it's just, anyway, it's a thing. So typically with these kind of properties, one has to buy with cash and then refinance later in a portfolio, typically.
Let's score it.
All right, let's score the scores on the doors. Okay, condition. Actually, it's quite good. I'm going to give it a 4. Not a 4, not above 4, but it's fundamentally.
It's
I'm going to give 4.1 actually. Sorry, I like it a lot. Location.
Like, it's really nice. You have everything close to train stop, close to schools, green space. So it's 4. It's not just because it's Bolton. We'll not give more.
All right, area.
It's 3.7, 3.8 something. It have new builds, but it's just borderline. Like, it's good. It's still good. Crime is
very low. Demographics.
3.8.
Yeah, exactly. And capital growth. Astonishing. Very strong. Sell time, don't know. It's a bit of a weird metric. I don't know, kind of don't know why I put it in there, but anyway, I did. And rent time, it'll rent because it's a nice house. Yield.
It's around 5.7 to 6, depends how much will be the accepted offer. So the yield is 4. It's also good. It's not the best, but it's good.
Well, what a coincidence. It's got the same as property in Radcliffe. This is a nice house, and in respect to renovation costs, it needs minimal work, mainly because it's an economy house, so there's no point in putting money into it to speak of. Excuse me, but it is a nice house, and it's fundamentally well built, and most of the serious heavy lifting or serious repairs have been done, except for the front room and the plaster and lath on the ceiling. But it's still there. It hasn't collapsed, so it should stay there.
Yeah.
The roof is excellent. It's just altogether very good.
Yeah.
And look, your overall thoughts on location?
Yeah, I like it. It's cheap property, which is not. It's hard to find in Manchester around. Yeah, so
I think it represents good value.
Yeah, for example, if you want to buy one cheaper, this is a really nice one.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So
we'll
rent fast because it's a nice location. Just because of the hospital, and a lot of people who work there, they will want to have a place where to live. So this is a good one.
All right. Well, finally, how much do you think one should offer up to?
127, because maybe 130, but not more than that. But 125 will be good offer, and good. It will give you 5 to 6.
If you're on a Gatehouse mortgage and you're looking for 80% LTV, then it's probably worth offering up to 130. That way you can get your 80% LTV in, and if there's a slight down valuation, you should be okay. If it's kind of borderline, you'll be all right. So in other words, 80% LTV at 100 is minimum price 125. It should get valued at that all day long, and then you're all good to go. So therefore, it's worth bidding this one up if you're planning on a 80% LTV Gatehouse mortgage.
Yep.
All right.
I think it's a good one.
It is.
I like it.
We both like it, and it gets a score that reflects our like of the property. So great. Well, thank you very much, and let us know what you want to do. Thanks.